Gentlemen, we have called you together to inform you that we are going to overthrow the United States government. Do you still think that jet fuel brought down the World Trade Center?
Okay, now we're going to take you to a new video that was just recently put together by our very own Melissa Melton, who explores the UN land grab that is Agenda 21. Let's take a look.
I'm Melissa Melton reporting for Infowars.com. As Agenda 21, the United Nations plan to take control of the world from the local level up, grows across America under the guise of the Green Movement, our national sovereignty, our personal freedom, and our very way of life is under attack.
What is Agenda 21 for new listeners? Why is it important? And what are the new big developments? I mean, is it safe to say the battle is joined right now, Rosa?
For people who don't know what Agenda 21 is, it's not what is Agenda 21, it's almost what isn't. It is the blueprint, it is the action plan to inventory and control all land, all water, all plants, all minerals, all construction, all animals, all means of production, all energy, all information, and all human beings in the world. It is a completely comprehensive plan, it's global, and it's implemented locally.
Agenda 21 highlights include the destruction of the family unit in the name of sustainable development, with people being forced to live in tight, compact cities and high-rise stack-em-and-pack-em apartments no bigger than this 16 by 16-foot space. I decided to ask people what they thought about the UN's plan to get people on the grid. So, would you live in a house no bigger than the size of this square?
It feels like a jail cell. No way.
I mean, it's impossible.
Well, you know, it depends on what my options would be. If this was the only option, I'm sure it would beat living under a bridge.
You need one at least twice this size.
This would be your entire house?
Yeah, 3 times as big, really. Yeah, I've lived in one about this size, and it was like being an animal in a box or something.
Would you do it for the good of the earth?
Maybe.
Yes.
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 Yes, I would.
You would?
Yeah.
Have you ever heard of Agenda 21?
I haven't.
No.
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 Agenda 21 is a plan we've been signed on to with the United Nations where we give up our property rights and freedom and be forced to live in apartments no bigger than this square. What do you think about that?
I think that's terrible. It sounds kind of like Chinese foreign policy or interior policy regarding their house and how they're controlling all aspects of your life.
I don't think it sounds fair.
Oh, wow.
This map, entitled Simulated Reserve and Corridor System to Protect Biodiversity, illustrates how the UN's Agenda 21 plan would work in the United States. Under this takeover, all personal property rights would cease to exist. The red zones, which make up the map's majority, will be mandated for little to no human use. The yellow zones are buffer zones for highly regulated use. Only in the scant green areas is any normal human use allowed. The tiny black dots are the dense megacities, where transportation will be tightly controlled, freedom will be restricted, and people will be packed in like sardines, living in tiny 275 square foot units amounting to little more than jail cells, all in the name of saving the earth.
Let's move right along now to Agenda 21 micro apartment scheme being beta tested in New York City. Yeah, they passed a law last year, 2011, in Germany, saying that all new homes by 2020 could not be single parent. You've got to live in these big dormitories. And now Bloomberg, who wants to control what you eat and what you do and ban your guns, says these studios and one-bedroom apartments, they're like closets, will be no bigger than 275 to 300 square feet. That's called a tiny supermax cell. These tiny living spaces are smaller than currently allowed by building regulations. And they say this is good for the earth. See, they can raise more taxes. They'll charge you more for a 200 square foot cell than for a 1,000 foot. This is how this works. More for less, the eugenics, Agenda 21, post-industrial slave model.
They're actually already beta testing these micro apartments in New York City and San Francisco. Have you heard of that?
I haven't. I'm afraid not.
I think we need to support abandoning this idea.
Well, it's not going to happen if they're dealing with humans, because no one's going to bow down and say, yes, we are living in this. Not everybody's going to do it.
Yeah.
But
as Agenda 21 creeps across the country, more and more people will be forced to face it. While sustainable development may sound like a beneficial idea, is giving up all of our liberty in the name of the greater good really such a good idea? I'm Melissa Melton reporting for InfoWars Nightly News.
Now, thank you, Melissa. Now, you know, of course, the elite, they're not going to expect to live in those, they're not going to live in those tiny little apartments. They're going to expect you and your family to do it. And for those of you who want to know more about the UN Agenda 21, I suggest this book right here. It's called Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21. All the information that you need to understand what is happening in your town, why it is happening, who is behind it, and what you can do to stop it. Check it out. It's by Rosa Corey, or excuse me, yeah, that's it, Rosa Corey, and it's available right now at InfoWarsShop.com. That brings us to our quote of the day. This by Mike Marsh, RFID pioneer. And he says, only a couple of companies in the world have the experience of building these machines, although the market need, if RFID did take off, would be for about 1 million of the machines running in parallel. Wow, that's Mike Marsh, RFID pioneer and Mark of the Beast specialist.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, Dan Bedandi reporting for the InfoWars Nightly News. And today we're going to talk about a very sensitive subject. And we bring it up often here on Infowars.com, Agenda 21, which is the modern-day eugenics being pushed by the United Nations. And today we got a guest via Skype from Massachusetts, Dave Kopaz. He's going to be joining us momentarily. First, I want to get in a brief history about Agenda 21. We're going to go, first of all, show you a cover of this disgusting bill, this law they're trying to push called Agenda 21. And as you can see, the document, I mean, it is disgusting and grotesque. We're going to show you a picture of that in a second. And, folks, Agenda 21 is so diabolical. And people think it's this great thing, you know, we're here to save Mother Earth. We're here to push this great Greenpeace movement, you know, to save humanity, you know, from CO2 and everything else. But there's Agenda 21, folks. That is just pure disgusting. It looks like a pile of puke, if you ask me. And we got another one accompanying this, Eco-Science by John P. Holdren. Now, John P. Holdren, folks, is Obama's science czar. He's openly stating the same thing in Agenda 21. We need to reduce the population, force inoculations, banning private property. I mean, it is disgusting to the core, folks. It really is. And we're going to move on to the Biodiversity Treaty Map. Now, folks, take a look at this map. Right there, folks. I want you to take a good look at this. The red zones, what you see there, the red zones are off limits to human beings. This is when Agenda 21 is fully in effect. Those red zones, which is a quarter of the country at least, are off limits to human beings. And as you can see, the color-coded charts, the green or the black in some charts are called smart zones. That's when all the humanity is pushed into stacked metropolitan zones. You're not allowed to own a car. You're told what you're going to be in school. You have to get permission by the state to have a kid, and the state raises a child with the one-child policy rule, which Obama said he would sign. This is on record. And we're going to get into this history quick. Back in June 13th of 1992, President George Bush signed Agenda 21. This is C-SPAN here at the Rio Summit. And it goes on. October 2nd, a few months later, 1992, the United Nations Agenda 21 pushed in Congress. This is another C-SPAN House session. I mean, this is crazy, folks. This is treason in our country. And now we move on to June 29th of 1993. Mr. Great President Clinton, he forms the President's Council on Sustainable Development. His Executive Order 12852 to implement Agenda 21, selling our country out, folks. And in June 3rd of 1997, Congressman Sam Farr wrote this letter for the 17th District of California in support of local Agenda 21. Then we move on to this other document. In 1987 to 2011, UN Agenda 21, the Sustainability Development introduced in the U.S. Congress. Now, as you can see, folks, this is a brief history. In this Congress, a 265-page document. I mean, it is that diabolical, folks. And before we move on to Mr. Kopacz, I want to introduce a book here we have at Infowars.com, InfoWarsStore.com. It's called Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21 by Rosa Corey. Great book. I read through half of it. I didn't get to read it all, but great information, folks. And Dave pointed out when I was talking to him before the interview, this information here is very valid, but it's constantly being updated by the UN. Yeah, they're constantly changing things, adding things, but this is a great description of Agenda 21, folks. I mean, I read through half the book, and I wanted to read the rest, but I had to get some sleep. But, yeah, this is available on InfoWarsStore.com. Great price, too. There's other deals. You can get the book with a combo and everything else. Again, InfoWarsStore.com, Behind the Green Mask, UN Agenda 21. And this is a great book, folks, and we got to move on to our guests. We don't have much time. We're running late today. And before I introduce Mr. Kopacz, he was a president of the Massachusetts Republican Assembly. He's got a long list of titles, so I'm going to actually let him fill you in on his titles because we've got a long list here. And Mr. Kopacz, Dave Kopacz from Massachusetts, how you doing, sir?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on the show today.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And if you want to give a brief introduction to yourself.
Sure, sure. Again, my name's Dave Kopacz. I was born and raised here in Western Massachusetts. Live in the town of Ware. I have two sons. We homeschooled our two boys, David and Luke, and went to college, and I studied the environmental sciences, plant and soil, and went on to get my degree in that. And I started my own business when I got out of college, and I wanted to stay close to home, having a young family and all. So I didn't get involved in the large environmental corporate world, and I stayed more affixed to the residential type stuff. And I also did some municipal service, which is where I got involved with conservation, which today I'm a town's conservation agent and the chair of the Conservation Commission and their Open Space Committee. And I also helped found their agricultural committee here in town. So the environment has always been something that's been very close to me, and something that I have a personal respect for. How back in the mid-'90s, when Windows 95 came out and the internet became a friendlier place, I bumped into Agenda 21, which you just introduced. And what I think is most dangerous about this particular document is that it's really not a bill. It's not even a treaty that will ever see the light of day and be discussed. This is a policy document. It was signed into soft law, which it's important to note that it doesn't need legislative approval. It only needs administrative approval. So basically any town board or nonprofit organization or a land trust could essentially go up and a la carte style pick out things that it wanted to incorporate out of Agenda 21.
All right. If you want to, sorry to cut you off, if you want to give us a brief description to the new viewers out there, because a lot of people are familiar with Agenda 21 thanks to shows like Infowars.com and the work you're doing. I mean, I've seen you speak in Worcester, Massachusetts, and you're great. You could speak for 2 hours easily, and I know that, and I'm sorry the time's so short today. But give a brief description, the diabolicalness of this Agenda 21.
Well, I basically have land trust, groups that I used to think were out there for all the right reasons, telling communities they're going to preserve farms for future generations and then ban tractors in perpetuity through the conservation restrictions, which is the only way they can get grant money. So we're looking at a system that's built to be abused, nonprofit and green groups springing up around to take advantage of that, and we're really looking at a top-down government control of a green economy. And I can assure you it is full of waste. It will not work because all the market signals are skewed, and we're seeing people losing their private property hand over fist. And here in Massachusetts, we have 157 land trusts. That's a land trust for every 2 towns. It's incredible.